seen the Libor Wikipedia page, which was a great manipulation of the currencies and was really a conspiracy to defraud many particular cells within the banking world, especially in the city of London and New York, that secretly manipulated the Libor rate. Okay? There was, but the interesting thing is, only 2 people have in fact been convicted for this misbehavior, and banks have been fined. Yeah, I'm talking. Deutsche Bank has been fined 2.5 billion, but the other banks get paid peanuts, 250 million, which is nothing compared to what was going on. And that kind of cookery, that kind of defraudation, was part and parcel of the banking world, I assume, at the time. So another thing is, I have read the juge d'instruction, the investigating judge's testimony taking in Paris from a lady.
Yeah.
Yes,
I've been in touch with her.
Yeah.
I invited her to come, but she couldn't.
That's
She
good.
couldn't.
Madame Chevalier.
Yeah.
Nathalie Chevalier. She was relatively high in BNP Paribas, and they forced on her a loan policy, toxic product, that she didn't understand. Because I think that's one of the things that we have to speak about. Behind that toxic product are mathematical algorithms that make it incomprehensible. I think intentionally so, and in Iceland as well, because I knew two sons of David Thor Björnvingsson are in mathematics and in financing. They were concocting an algorithm that made it impossible not for the consumers, but for the mid-level banking operatives to actually understand what was going on. But they were nevertheless forced, practically forced, if you read their testimony, to sell products they did not understand. They could only suspect, because it's mathematics, they could only suspect that the product was toxic. And this Madame Chevalier tried to resist the pressure to sell such products because she suspected that they are toxic, but the pressure was too high and she had to move out of BNP Paribas, which is a very reputable bank. I don't know what was the follow-up on that, but this was a criminal investigation against unknown person, the French call it contre X. And then the question is, how far did they go afterwards? If she were here, she would be able to tell us. It's a pity she's not here.
I asked her to come. I mean, she was very brave, but she told me she couldn't, also because the process was still alive.
Okay.
And she didn't want to talk. She told me, believe me, I am the most interested one to help people, but now I can't. I will do it when the process is over. Yeah. Yes.
So this is one thing that has to be explored. It's a mathematical question. And if you look at the Libor denunciation on Wikipedia, you see these complex formulas with integrals and derivatives that were concocted together to manipulate the Libor rate. But here it was the same thing. Which, if that is true, then much of the middle management, let alone the low employees of the banks, didn't know what they were selling. In other words, they would not be criminally responsible because they were doing something they might have suspected of being toxic, but they didn't know. However, the tip of the iceberg, the real managers, just like in Iceland, they have to be gone after by criminal prosecutions. Because there may be plenty of them who knew exactly what they were doing. The other aspect which I just learned today from another banker is that most of the banks, at least in Slovenia and Austria, were in possession of Swiss francs, and so they didn't need any Swiss francs. They had enough of Swiss francs. They even to repay everything. The central banks were responsible because they were in collusion, condoning such practices, irrespective of the fact that they knew that these products would be toxic for the consumers. And so they would have to be, central banks would have to be investigated as well.
And it's very interesting that you mentioned the Austrian bank, because as you all know, I mean, Austrian banks were extremely active in all of this, and it's quite interesting that there were also actually FX lending in Austria, and already shortly after year 2000, the Austrian central bank was warning the Austrian banks of these practices within Austria, but they did not look at what the Austrian banks were doing abroad, or they, willfully ignored that.
That's right.
And they were sort of gradually strengthening their warning. So I think it was in 2008 they practically stopped foreign currency lending within Austria, but they never intervened in what the Austrian banks were doing abroad. And coming back to what you were saying about the responsibility of the central banks, this is a very striking, interesting example. It wasn't until in 2013 that finally the Austrian central bank came out sort of in full force and said foreign currency lending should not be a mass market product. Basta. And that was sort of the end of it. And I think this is an extremely
This is exactly what happened yesterday.